On this episode of Scammer Stories, the FBI wants answers about a romance scam. It's not the scammer they want to talk to, it's the scam survivor. This woman's story spun out of control when the scammers threatened violence against her family members while she had hundreds of thousands of dollars from another survivor unknowingly sitting in her bank account. Jennifer ended up with police parked outside of her house while she sat in front of FBI agents who demanded answers, and her family was terrified. I'll let Jennifer start with how she went from a simple upbringing to sitting face to face with the FBI.
Grew up in North Carolina, like in a small town, wonderful, sweet, loving parents in a safe environment. I was very trusting, I guess you could say. And then I went out to Washington State for college. It's a certain kind of school that I wanted to go to. So I went there, graduated. And then during the pandemic, I moved back there because I couldn't see my family in North Carolina anyway. So I wanted to go back out to Washington. I missed it. I have a lot of friends out there too. So kind of like started my life over out there in 2020, started getting back into my artwork, which made me happy. I do fiber arts. And while I was there, I was so far away from my family, and the pandemic did create a lot of loneliness, I guess you could say. Like, I wasn't going out as much. I didn't have a lot of people around me to spend time with, but I was happy out there. I had my doggy and friends nearby that I would spend time with. I wasn't like looking for a partner either, really. I didn't think I was, but I was single. Oh, God, it's hard to talk about. Sorry. I sure wish I could rewind time when I start talking about the story. I could have saved myself so much. But rewind time back into till December 2021, so a pretty long time ago. And a man named Eric Johnson contacted me on Instagram. Now, I didn't use Instagram that much. I did post some things here and there about my art and what I was doing, and I think there was a public profile enough that people could see. I didn't know now what I know now about like protecting my accounts. So everything was wide open, kind of. I usually would delete things if I got like random spam here and there, and like phone calls I didn't recognize. I wouldn't answer those. But in this situation, I don't know what it was about it. Actually, I do know. It was a photograph of the person. I just was like, wow, God, he's so cute. It got me. Like, the photo got me. And, they say pictures say 1,000 words. And the criminals know they know what they're doing. So that's why they pick really good images. It's a business. So they had a really good picture. This guy who was single and he was hot, and all his photos were just him, and he would send me a couple photos a day. Anyway, we started talking. I was, I guess, feeling lonely because it was close to Christmas, and so I went along with it, and we had some really good conversations. And about a week in, we started having phone conversations. It went from Instagram to WhatsApp. So we never had a video call. I wanted to, but there were always reasons why that wasn't possible. And Eric Johnson presented himself as a builder and investor up in New York City, and sounded like he had a lot of money and a nice place to live and a nice car and a big house. But then suddenly he had to go overseas and do a big project somewhere in Africa. So that was January. We met in December, and then by January he was in Africa. The real person, actually, ironically, is in South Africa. But his character, his performance led him there to do a big building project, and that's why we couldn't meet in person. But he sent me a birthday cake and lots of love bombing. It releases all the same chemicals in the brain as it would for a person who is standing right there in front of you.
Many of you listening have been there. I know I have. I describe it as love drunk. You're thinking about the person 24/7, and all you want to do is be with them.
the dopamine, oxytocin, the cortisol, all this stuff. Because the cortisol was like, oh, you're leaving? Well, when will you be back? I don't know. And so it's like there was a lot of love and passion, but it was frantic too, and some stressful things that kept me interested, kept me talking. And then I think in January, I made my first investment with a company he worked with called BitAstro. It's like BIT astro.com. And it makes me so mad that it's still on the internet. It is still live. It hasn't been taken down. It's 100% illegal. It's pig butchering. They get unsuspected people to invest in something that sounds like a really good idea. It sounds like a really smart way to make a lot of money, which at the time I was like looking for, because I did have some investment properties that were making money. I personally could have used some more money coming into my pocket. I mean, who doesn't want a little extra here and there? And it would have been a game changer if it was real.
Now, Jennifer is no dummy when it comes to business and finance. She has a master's in business and up until this point had opened a couple of successful businesses that made money.
So, long story short, the criminals took all of everything that I had ever built, which ended up being $500,000, a little bit more, $550,000. Yeah, devastating. I lost the ability to take care of my doggy, so I had to give him to someone else. It was like the most horrible thing. I can't even explain it. Anybody who owns pets knows. And then I had a will set up that I was going to leave some money to my 4 nephews and my brother and sister. I was going to leave money to my family members. And I had all that set up, spelled out on a will. I had essentially made it in my life. I was making passive income. I was pretty, worked hard. So by age, I would have been like 45 at the time about that all this started. I was doing pretty good. So then going back to the investment, it looked really good. There was I had a login and username and password and stuff. There was testimonials on there. Better Business Bureau logo was on there, which now I realize you can just copy and paste. It wasn't really Better Business Bureau accrediting in this website. And I invested some more and some more and some more because I kept watching my profits grow and grow and grow. And I was really excited.
So Jennifer's future looked really bright until she started to notice the cracks.
When I started to have some doubts and suspicions, there were a few things that were happening. One that was that Eric had kind of passed me along to his boss, to his superior, whose name is Liam Stevens, who was supposedly a business mogul dude out of Manchester, England. And he sent me pictures of himself and some kind of really botched video. We had a lot of phone calls. He was really trying to make sure that I understood what this was about. He even offered me to work for his company, which his company being me scamming people. I didn't know that at the time. I thought it was legit. So he offered me a job and was like, you can make more than you're making even in these investments by working and working for me. And it's all remote. So there were just certain things that weren't lining up with their stories. And I was still talking to both of them, but I was kind of really frustrated with Eric because he just kept promising me. He was the one I was in love with, and he kept promising I was going to see him and that we were going to meet up one day and soon. It was never him. And anytime I would explain my financial stresses, he would just kind of downplay it, he didn't care. And so when I wanted to get some of that money back out because I needed it to do some repairs on one of my houses, they told me that I was going to have to pay a lot of taxes.
They claimed she'd have to pay for a lawyer, an accountant, and pay big fees.
Liam actually laughed at me for wanting to take my money out. One, they kept promising me they were going to come back and never did. And I just kind of got disheartened and gave up on Eric and stopped talking to him. And then with Liam, he was like my tie to the money. He had me send over on Cash App, and he was having me send it to people whose names did not match up. It didn't make sense.
She knew a legitimate investment company wouldn't use something like Cash App.
I was sending it to women. They were probably victims too, who were laundering money without knowing it. And I guess I just finally realized it when he was like, all right, you have to send more. And I was like, I sent it already. And he was like, well, you have to send more. And then I would send a little bit more. And he was like, you have to send more. I mean, I caught on pretty quickly because I'm not an idiot. So I reported it to the IC3 once I realized in like November. Everything I had on them, their phone numbers and emails and their supposed like names, birth dates, and pictures, and any way we'd been communicating, I sent that in as well as the amounts. I started talking to another fella because at that point my heart was broken. So I was like, well, maybe I can help myself out by getting into another relationship. But this one was also an online relationship, and this one was Tinder. And he comes on and he's like, oh, you're the one of my dreams. And at first I was like, I don't believe you. Like, we had a big fight pretty quickly, pretty early on, like a few days in. And then he like won me back somehow. I don't know how. It was like a psychological manipulation. Plus I was a little bit fragile already. And going into winter, I mean, I thought like, oh, okay, here's another person. He was supposedly in LA. His name was supposedly Luis Montgomery. The time went on with him where he eventually convinced me to give him some money. So this wasn't an investment thing. This was like it's hard to explain how you get sucked in, but it's a long-term game. So 5 months in, we talked every single day, multiple times a day. He never asked for money. It was just like friendship, which led into like, I'm interested in you, which led into like, I'm madly in love with you and I love you. And but I guess I kind of, in the pit of my stomach, had doubts and suspicions with him more because it sounded sort of similar. And I couldn't believe this was happening again, where he was in LA and then he suddenly had to go to Dubai to do a construction project. I mean, it was like some very similar thing. So that's on me that I was pulled in a second time. But honestly, the mastermind with which they do it is masterful. And I don't know if they were related groups or whatever. I mean, they might have been. The communication style was very different. So like Eric and Liam and Luis were all three different people because I talked to them on the phone. They all had different voices. But they might have been part of a similar ring or related. I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever know. But
now, throughout this time, did you speak to your friends and family about these men, or did you keep it to yourself?
To myself, mostly. I did tell a girlfriend, and she was like, oh my God, that is not. I mean, she asked me a bunch of questions, and after a while, she was like, something doesn't sound right. And I was like, no, he's great. He's great. So after her reaction, I kind of stopped telling a lot of people because she was discouraging, and I was like very in love.
Now is where things start to take an even darker turn. What we've heard so far is pretty typical for a romance scam or pig butchering scam. I hope if you're in the middle of a scam and refuse to stop, the next part of this story will scare you straight. Jennifer says people did try.
Yeah, even a banker told me this is a scam. And I didn't listen to her. So yeah, a banker, my best friend in Washington State, and then some family members in North Carolina. I told them, and they were like very skeptical. One family member actually said, like, if you don't stop talking to the scammer, I'm going to stop talking to you. She was right. I mean, I should have immediately like stopped, deleted the app, and like, what am I doing? Oh my God, she's totally right. But like the best way I can explain it is that you're 100% hypnotized. They will use black magic to hypnotize their victims from overseas, and it works.
Before we get any further into this, I need to always preface this with, I know you may not believe in this, and I always get negative comments for including this aspect, but this is a practice used by the Yahoo Boys. They go to a witch doctor and have her cast a spell. I know it sounds crazy. Whether it works or not, I cannot prove or disprove. But the fact is, this does happen.
It actually works. It's very strong. They get a photo printed out of me, which they had a photo of me before they even said their first words to me. They had photos of me online. I know it sounds crazy, but it really works because I know what it feels like to be under the spell, and I know what it feels like to be not under the spell. I know what it was like before, during, and after. And during, you are definitely under a spell, hypnotized, cannot shake it, but everything feels confusing, but it all for the name of love or the name of money. Money and love are like the two big motivations. Most of the victims slash survivors are looking for either love or money. So if somebody's not looking for either of those, then they're no target to the scammers. I mean, the scammers aren't going to get anything out of them. And the scammers know this. And they try different angles too. It's like, even if you're not looking for money investment and you're just looking for love, they can reel you in and have you become a money mule. If you don't have any money, you're still a target, because they can tie you in, pull you in, and hypnotize you and get you to do what they want. They can get you to open bank accounts, to move other people's money, to essentially become a money mule and money launderer for them, without even knowing that you're committing any crimes. And so their targets aren't even people who are like rich. They'll go after anybody as long as they can get their hooks in by promising future money or love, or a combination of both. You know, I was promised cars and watches and houses on the ocean.
So she ended up with the FBI, and she definitely got their attention, putting herself at risk.
Only because there was extortion involved. So the FBI won't take cases involving romance fraud and crypto fraud that's under, like, I think $500,000, which mine was just barely at that or over that. I think they need to hear anybody. I think if somebody loses $100,000 and that is all their money, that is the equivalent of me losing 500,000 and that was all my money, or somebody losing 2 million and that's all their money. If somebody's losing all their money, it doesn't matter what the amount is. That's one thing I've learned. It doesn't matter what the amount is that the criminals take. They're taking somebody's, like, they're stealing from somebody's hard-earned resources, the thing that was going to help that person just breathe and be okay and not have to work so hard, or like leave some kind of inheritance to their next of kin. So they're robbing not just individual first world countries, they're robbing from future generations.
So describe the extortion part of this then that got the FBI's attention.
Okay, they wanted me to give them some more money. They were having a hard time. They needed a little more money. And I was like, I have no more to give you. I am broke. And maybe you could help me out for a change. Started to be the conversations when we would talk about money. He kept saying, well, do you have any ideas of, we both need money? Like, you need money, I need money. Let's work on this together. Let's put our minds together. So it became like this team effort thing, which is another tactic they use. Let's bond through working this out together and figuring it out together. Again, a very clever tactic to feel stronger and connected to somebody that you're already bonding with by figuring out a hard thing together. And so we were solving this problem of both of us needing money. So he came up with this idea that he had a friend who was going to send me some money. He never gave me an amount, but he said, this friend is going to send you some money. Don't worry. They're going to send it to you via wire transfer into your bank account. And they just can't send it directly to me because my bank account is all screwed up. It's locked up. I'm overseas and I can't get to it. That's how it all started with both guys. Actually, when they were overseas, their accounts were locked up and they couldn't access them. So the wire came in September of last year, 2024. And I'll never forget, it was September 6th, which is my parents' anniversary. And so that felt like a sign. And it was also for the exact amount I had lost. So that felt like a sign. So it was a huge amount that they wired into my account. I thought if he did come through and his friend sent me some money, that I would keep it and just cut off my communication with him. And so that's what I did. And it was not a good idea. Like, it backfired on me. But okay, this is my story, and this is how it would happen in any situation, probably. So I got hundreds of thousands wired into my account. I moved it from one bank to another bank because it makes it less traceable. So it was in a whole new account, and I was like, great, I can start over. I can start my life over. I started telling friends and family, like, guess what? I got my money back. Oh my God, I got my money back. I'm so glad. But it was not my money. I thought it was a criminal's friend's money, but he was having me launder from another victim. had all the money moved over to the new account, completely cut him off, deleted WhatsApp, stopped looking at my phone, deleted his phone number, blocked, deleted everything I could think of, because I was like, I'm cutting him off. He's actually a criminal syndicate of dozens, possibly hundreds, possibly thousands of people in his gang. So just because I blocked Luis's number and stopped talking to him, my phone number was still out there, and I started getting scary emails and scary text messages. They started to threaten me with physical violence and told me that they were going to show up at my house. They had guns. They were going to kill my family. And then the worst was that they got a hold of my sister's phone number on the internet somehow. I don't know how, but I have done searches of random people online, and I find addresses, their birthdays, phone numbers, their cars they drive, their favorite color. I can find what the criminals can find. It's all out there. They threatened her, and she went to the FBI, actually, is what happened. And because she wasn't hypnotized in any way, she didn't have hopes, have love. She never spoke to these people once. And all of a sudden she gets out of nowhere, we're coming for you if you don't make your sister send the money. And so she texted me and was like, what is this? This is terrifying. Like, what are you involved in? And I told her everything. So I went to the cops the day that she went to the FBI, and she was with the FBI while I was talking to the cops. And we were both getting phone calls and texts from criminals saying, we're going to come kill you if you don't send us this money. All you have to do is send us this money, and then like bygones will be bygones. So the cops were pretty helpful. I mean, they did advise me to take the money and run, which is terrible advice. Yeah. I mean, anybody can buy off anybody in this day and age. So the FBI went after me. I mean, my sister was there, and they said, well, she has to come in. She can't keep this money. It's not hers. So I went in and talked to them. Like, I was terrified. My sister was terrified. I mean, I literally never had fear like this. And extortion with this kind of level of fear carries a 20-year prison sentence. So we had police patrolling our house. I mean, this is taxpayers' dollars going out the window over criminals who are in another country, in another continent, far, far away, who are actually bluffing the whole time. So the FBI did try to calm both of us down by explaining this is a common tactic and this is a bluff. Don't worry. And we were like, how can we not worry? We've been told that they're coming and that they're close by. And also we were being texted by phone numbers with U.S. area codes, states close by, but those are Google generated phone numbers.
Still, Jennifer and her sister weren't taking any chances.
We both moved out of the house where we thought the criminals were coming.
Of course, nothing has happened to anyone who helped put Jennifer and her family in this horrible situation. But Jennifer is holding out hope that karma will eventually catch up to them.
They are just a bunch of punk kids, literally. They're in their early 20s. And if they're in their late 20s, they have been in the game a long time, and they're like the leaders, brothers and cousins and friends, and recruiting each other. And once they're in, they can't leave either. So it's a little bit of a scary situation for them too. Like, they get in fights between each other. There's lives lost in those gangs too.
So you're probably wondering, what happened to all that money?
I went back to a woman in Rhode Island who was in the process of selling her home, and it was money that was moved from escrow to me instead of to her. So the criminals faked a very simple email to the CEO in Rhode Island that is an escrow company. It's real estate fraud, which is now on the rise because the criminals are tired of working so hard to get $5,000 or $10,000. Now they want hundreds of thousands and millions, and they can do that with real estate. And with AI and everything, all I can say is the future's scary. And I hope that the FBI gets more savvy and the government gets more on board and people get educated, because they should have been shut down long before. So it's kind of like the Nigerian prince scam. This Yahoo Boy shenanigans went from shenanigans to really, really hurting people in this country and just destroying people. I mean, people have committed suicide from this.
Jennifer ended up going to school online for cybersecurity after this and actually got a degree so she can feel empowered and is trying to give back that way. Here's a bit of a news update really quick. Maybe I should include these in every episode now that these types of scams are making news headlines regularly. This news update is about the Romance Scam Prevention Act and the one lawmaker who is actually against it. So Senator Rand Paul believes a romance scam is a judgment mistake and no legislation is actually needed. That means every single one of you listening needs to write him a letter. His constituents need to let him know that this is a real crime and we need him to act now. It's already too late for so many. If you have a story you'd like to share here on the podcast, send me an email. It's scammerstoriespodcast@gmail.com. And I'm April. Until next time, Scammer Warriors.